Hello, all. Welcome to another episode of Sam's Corner. And today we're going to talk about the one thing nobody wants to talk about. And it's even hard for me. And you'll learn why by the end of this video. So, today's topic is going to be what to do. Well, I said what to do. What do you do when you lose your job? So the first part, we're going to talk about steps you should do to prepare. And then the second part is what you'll have to do afterwards. This one is hard for me because I'm kind of going through that right now, but I'll get into that. All right, so part one, to prepare. We never want to prepare or think about the worst that can happen. But there is a saying that says, plan for the worst, hope for the best, something along those lines. But anyway, we always hope the best will happen. And most of the time it kind of will, depend on the situation. But we need to learn how to plan for the worst. That's the hard part, because planning for the worst makes you face stuff that you don't want to deal with. And job loss is one of them. Now, here's the thing. Most Americans, or worldwide, most of us have one stream of income. And when that one stream of income goes, that's it. Everything else crumbles. Now, if you have a boyfriend, you have a girlfriend, you have a sugar daddy, I know people think that's me being a smart mouth. No, people have benefactors, and there's no judgment in that. Sometimes in life, you have who you have, that's it. Or sometimes you have parents, whatever else. What I'm saying is, if you have someone who can financially help you during a rough time, that's great. For those who may not, well, here's the thing anyway. Regardless if you have those things, you should always plan for the worst. And that's why you hear everyone saying, save, 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 save. And that's me too. I'm saying save. Save as much as you can. Don't push yourself. Remember, savings, as I said before, is a habit. It is a good habit, and it's something you want to do over time. And I'll just say, even if you start with $1 a day, or saving your loose change, or whatever else, once you've built the habit, you'll become more comfortable with it. But we're focusing on what to do if you lose your job, you know. So the first thing you do, of course, is save. You always plan for it, and you save. I keep saying that, and you save, and you save, and you save. And the reason I'm saying that is because savings is important. Even if you have 3 to 6 months worth, most will say most, I think, advisors say 3 to 6 months, or even a year. Here's the thing, time goes by really fast. And let's say, for example, you have 3 months worth of salary saved up. You're proud of yourself. You've been doing the thing. You've been cutting back on your spending. And let's say something happens and you're laid off unexpectedly. You go into work. You expect it to be a normal day. Word never hits you that they're downsizing or changing things. And you get called into a meeting and you think it's one of those normal, why are they doing this at the end of the day? Because we all hate end of the day meetings. We do. And you go into this meeting and you're given a pink slip. Let's say you're given a severance. Let's say your severance is a month. Let's say it could be 2 months, could be more, could be nothing. But let's say you're just laid off, you're given a month severance. Let's say you have 3 months saved. So let's say you have 4 months worth of income. And that's great. But here's the thing. Let's say the first month you're like, I haven't taken a vacation in a long time. Let me rest. Now, of course, you have vacation. You know, that's still a benefit that's paid out to you. So, but let's say you don't really take a vacation. And let's work it up to 5 months. So let's say this happens December 31st, at the end of the last day of the year. And you're like, okay, so with leave, your leave balance, you have about a month's worth of salary. With the severance, you have a month, and then you save 3 months, so you have 5 months, and that's great because hopefully within the 5 months you would have found a job. But let's say the first month you tired, you haven't really taken a vacation. Let's say you're exhausted and you're drained, and let's say you take a month off and you just kind of look here and there, but you don't really push it. You feel comfortable. Month one. Let's say you get to month two. Now month two, you're still kind of okay. You're looking at stuff here and there, but you're not really pushing. Now month three comes, and halfway in between month three, you're at 50% of your income. Now, sorry, 50, but you've used 50%. Once you get to month four, you're going to start to panic because you're going to realize, oh Lord, I only have 1 month left. Now, of course, there is unemployment, there are other things, but here's the thing. The point that I'm trying to make, and I know that was a long, drawn out point, well, example rather, but the point that I want to make is time goes by very fast. And the money, if you don't have money coming in and you're at money going out, you're going to deplete your savings really quickly. And the money's going to go because you're going to pay your bills like you normally do. You may say, well, I'll go to the movies, or I could buy this, or I could buy that. I should be okay. But if you don't have any more money coming in, anything can happen. So the first thing I want to tell you to plan is to save. You want to try to get to a point. A year seems like it's impossible, but I want to say if you can, get to a year. But in some people like, but a year, that's a lot. Well, okay. Well, here's the thing. Let the year be your long-term goal. Let's say your short-term goal is 3 months. And whatever your short-term period is, and try to stack away 3 months of income. And once you get to 3, go to 6, go to 9, and in 12 months, that's your year. So that's the first thing I want to tell you. Prepare for that. Number 2, as you've been saving, make sure that you're putting money aside. Also, stocks, investing, whatever. Not that you want to use those things, but sometimes it's good to have another pool or access. So you can invest, and we're going to talk about investing later on. Another thing that you're going to want to do is one of those things where if you know your job is going to end at some point, you're going to want to start looking sooner rather than later. And see, all of these things that I'm going to say are going to be subjective to a certain degree. Because here's the thing. Being laid off, being fired, knowing that your job may end a couple of months down the road, that you might get a severance. There's so many factors that are involved that I'm not going to say it's impossible. You can tailor a plan for each scenario. What I'm saying is each scenario is different. And then what people have is different. Some people, they get laid off, but their other half makes enough money that they can cover the bills, or their standard of living may not change that greatly. And then there are other people, they lose their job and everything begins to crumble. And the reason I started with savings is because most of us don't have savings. We have a savings account, but we don't have savings. So that's why I'm stressing saving. Another way to plan, if you know of potential job loss, or if you get a feeling, because sometimes in our gut, our soul, our spirit, whatever you want to call it, says, look, something bad about to happen here. And if you have that feeling, start looking for another job, start cutting back on your spending, start saving money, start putting money aside, and start aggressively applying for jobs. Now, a lot of times they'll be like, well, why do you want to leave your current employer? They always ask you that question. And for some people, it trips them up. You can't be, I wouldn't say you can't be honest, But the real answer you want to give is you don't want to tell them, I got a feeling they about to go under or something bad about to happen. Now, here's the thing. If your employer is and they're closing out, then you can definitely say that, and that is a good answer. But let's say you're just going on a feeling that you have. You can just tell them that you're looking for another opportunity, that you want to grow career-wise or whatever else. Use whatever strategy you have. It doesn't matter. So, when you're planning for job loss, number 2, I've said it, but I want to focus on it. You need to focus on finding another job aggressively. And this is where you have to sit and you got to look at your resume. And this is the point where you have to be your own biggest cheerleader, whatever term you want to use, whatever word works for you. You have to be your biggest advocate. You have to believe in yourself. You need to make sure that your resume not only states what you do, but what you've accomplished at your job. Because a lot of us, we do a whole bunch of things and we've accomplished more than we realize. But most of the time we just go by, well, this is the job description they have, so I'm just going to. No. Especially when you've been at a job a couple of years, you've probably done more things than you realize. And so it's time to list your accomplishments. I feel it's best to have an active resume, not a passive resume. A passive resume just tells what you do, like lists job duties and descriptions. An active resume, so I'll use, like, I've done accounts payable. So for example, I may say I process 500 invoices weekly. That's great. But one thing that I have done is that I've also worked at companies where I've helped them implement electronic processing of payments, etc. So on my job description or on my resume, I state that. I state that I was responsible and part of the production process of implementing, electronic processing of invoices with documentation, signature, etc. Again, that makes a big difference because a lot of times most people wouldn't put that, even though it's something they've done things. But it's important to state those facts. It's important to state the things that you've done. And that's another thing that you can do when it comes to planning and preparing for job loss. You get your resume up. You may feel, you never know what could happen. So, again, I got around a little bit, but here's the thing. Get your resume together. Also get your cover letter together. That's another place for you to highlight career things and highlight what you've done. You are your biggest advocate always. Always, always, always be your biggest advocate. Because if you're not, if you don't believe in you, no one else will. So this video is longer than I wanted to be, but it's okay. So I wanted to focus on savings. I wanted to focus on getting your resume together. And here's another thing that you want to do to prepare. You want to identify individuals or people who may be able to help you. Look, if you didn't save a lot and you don't have a lot of savings and it comes abruptly, you need to identify people you may need to borrow from. And who you can borrow from. You can't borrow from everyone. And I don't think you should, because there's some people you can borrow money from and they're not going to talk about you. And then they're going to be folks that the second they give you money, they're going to act like that you borrowed it from them 2 years ago and never paid it back. And the reason I say that is because, look, when it comes to planning, and especially when things go bad, you got to have a plan. The plan may not always work out the way you wanted to, but you got to strategize and think about, how do I keep myself going? And that's part of what this plan is about. How do I keep myself going? Because once you start to think about that, then you'll know the actions that you need to take. And that's why I'm giving blanket kind of responses, because everyone's situation is different. There's some people, their parents, they work, but their parents still pay their bills, or their parents say, don't worry about it. If you don't like this job, just quit. I'll pay your bills and stuff like that. Then you don't have nothing to worry about. But those of us who don't, We got to do whatever we can. So I'm just going to stick with those three things for right now. The part I really want to get into is when shit hits the fan. Because at some point it does. It does. So I'll give you an example. The first time I went through job loss. Now I worked this excellent government contractor. I want to say their name, but you know how sometimes you're not sure if you should say an organization's name. But I really don't have anything bad to say about this organization. They were the first organization that I worked for that said we care about people, and they actually showed it. They did everything from potlucks to health days, all kinds of stuff. And I was amazed. I never worked at a place that said we care about you, and then they actually did stuff like their actions and their words aligned. That was the first time I worked at a place, and I was absolutely stunned. So I worked on a contract. The contract ended, and they told me while I was away on travel, but I was like, I knew it was coming. So I had time to prepare, and I was very, very happy for that, because not every employer gives you the amount of time. I had at least about 5 or 6 months. I was applying for jobs, looking for jobs. It was during the time recession. There wasn't a lot of jobs, but I was still doing the best I could. So they laid us off, gave us severances. They even gave us administratively. They said, look, we know this is hard for you. If you want to, you can come into the office and use our stuff. We will help you look for jobs. We'll get your resume out there to temporary agencies because they may be a resource. They worked with all of us on our resumes and gave us tips. They said, don't worry, no matter, you always use us as a reference. We will always they did so many great things. So in that instance, I was able to better prepare and transition, but I did do other things. What I'm saying is, you never know what can happen, but not every organization is like that. They were a great organization to work for, and I would definitely work for them again if I could, if there was a good opportunity. I will say this. Now, I never told anyone this, but they offered me another position within the organization, but I didn't want to take it because I was finishing up with school and I really wanted to follow my passion and degree. And in hindsight, I should have taken it. And the reason is, as much as I wanted to pursue my career at the time, I've learned through this experience that it is always best to keep your money coming in. If you're not independently wealthy, you don't want to put yourself in a place of limbo because you don't know how long it'll take for you to get another job. And it took me some time. Now, I did take some time off. I still did look, but to land the job that I wanted took me a lot longer than I wanted it to. And it was at that time where it was a recession, and it was taking people a lot longer, and it was difficult. Now, the thing is, I did find some work, and I kept myself going. But looking for the opportunity that I wanted that aligned with my career, it took some time. So what I'll say is, if you ever have an opportunity where they say, hey, we can slide you into another position, take it. Just go ahead and take it. And let me tell you why. Because you're going to need the money. If, like I said, if you're not independently wealthy, you might as well take it. Because you don't know what's going to happen. And it's just best to have that. Again, you can make another decision. The choice is yours with your life. You just have to do what you feel is best. So, with that being said, now, here's the second part. And this is where, so right now what I'm going through is my employer didn't pay some of us. So I resigned. And so right now I am going through the transition of my employer didn't pay me. Oh my God, what do I do? But there's the thing. I know a lot of people like, are you serious? Your employer didn't pay? Yep. And every time I've been applying for jobs, and they say, hey, why'd you leave your current employer? Now I just say, before you ask, let me tell you what happened. They did not pay us. And I'm going to tell you this, I have never heard that gasp of silence. Like, people are like, are you serious? This one lady, I mean, like, her voice cracked. And she's like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, that was the most sincere I've ever heard someone say anything that they didn't know me. But it's one of those things that we fear. And we didn't get paid. And so I figured it was going to happen based on where the path was going for the organization. So I planned. But see, here's the thing. This isn't my first rodeo. And because it's not my first, I knew exactly what to do. So here, and I know this video is long, but I want to tell you all this. This is what you do. Number one, and I've said some points throughout the video, but I'm going to sum it up right here. Number one, you must always keep income coming in, period. Whether it's unemployment, I don't care if it's Lyft, Uber, DoorDash, I don't care if you helping your cousin in them, I don't care what it is. As long as you keep money coming in, and I know sometimes it may not have been as much as you were earning, it's easier to manage something versus nothing. Of course, use your savings. I don't want to be an advocate for using your credit cards, but hey, it may come a point in time where you may have to use them. But I would say try not to if you can, because you're going to have to pay that back. But again, with job loss, here's the thing. We're talking about current needs. And if you don't have a lot of savings, you're going to have to do what you have to do. Again, I'm not an advocate for using credit cards. And if you have to, use them wisely and use them sparingly. Now, here's some that financial advisors will tell you, of course, don't take from your retirement. But again, if we're talking about retirement income many years from now versus your ability to pay your rent and bills, you do what you have to do. Just know that you're going to have to pay. There's at least a 10% early withdrawal fee, and there's other taxes that are going to be taken out of that. So all of those things you have to consider. That's why I'm saying save, save, save. And if you can, have a side hustle, do whatever you can. If you have to work a couple of part-time jobs, whatever it takes, there's nothing wrong with signing up with the temp agency. I'm going to tell you this, over my many years, I have temped a lot. And you do what you have to do. And the reason I'm saying that is because the psychological part of it is you were working, you were earning income, your supervisor may have gotten on your nerves, you may have had some fights or issues with your coworkers, but for the most part, money was coming in and you were independent. Now, money's not coming in. And so now, you're like, what do I do? And as time progresses, here's the thing, your salary and income stopped, but your bills didn't. They still here, and you got to deal with them. Another thing I want to say is reach out to all of your bills, all the people, your debts, your whatever, utilities, and see if there are any options that are afforded to you. Because sometimes you just never know. It's not the end of the world. It may feel like it. It's depressing. And let me tell you this, when I went through it the first time, I understand when people say they were depressed. And I understand when people describe what the depression was like. And I know a lot of people feel like, oh, they just depressed. It ain't nothing. You just emotion snap. You can go to a very dark place. And I'll say for the first round, I did. I was very depressed. Because the thing is, when you're home for a minute, it feels good. But after a while, it takes its toll on you. And that's why I say, from a psychological perspective, you have to have a plan. And you have to have focus. And this time around, given what happened, my focus has been so strong, nothing counters it. Because I've been through it, so I know what I need to do. So again, I just want to reiterate, you can have sudden job loss. You can It could come a little bit later. Your job may tell you, okay, within 3 months we shut down. There's all those things that can happen. But let's say things happen. If you get a severance, that's great. Utilize your severance. If you have a savings, utilize that. You know, if once the severance and other stuff runs out and you still haven't found something, try to temp if you can. Try to do some other work if you can, part-time. If you can't, file for unemployment. Use your credit card sparingly. You may have to take money from your retirement. There are going to be penalties and fees with that. But again, you do what you have to do. Your goal is to keep money coming in to keep your household afloat. Do everything you can. Applying for jobs is going to be your full-time job. Make sure that your resume stands out and that you stand by it. Make sure your resume is active and do what you have to do. This is going to be hard for anyone who's going through it. Trust me, I know what you're thinking and I know what you're feeling. And you have to keep yourself motivated even when you don't feel like it. And you have to stick to a schedule. You can't be, well, I don't have to go to work. I'm going to start my day in 1 in the afternoon. Nope. You got to get up like you still going to work. I advise you getting up early. You need to look at reading interview questions. You need everything to help you stay focused. If you lose your focus, you will fall and can fall into a deep depression that can take a long time for you to get out of. So I want to say thank you to everyone for watching. This video was kind of hard for me, not only because I went through it once, but I'm going through it right now. And I'm going to tell you, this is no fun at all. But because I've been through it before, I know how to move. And that's why I wanted to share this video with you. Because just in case you're going through it, or I implore you, if you know someone who's going through it, please share this video with them because I hope that it can help them. Because again, it's hard and it's difficult, but you can and will get through it. So with that being said, thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you all next time.